In 1972, scientists launched the Atlas Centaur rocket into space, carrying a probe with information about Earth, humans, and its location. The probe was sent to search for life similar to Earth's. Neil Clark received praise from Catherine for his novel event, which was then destroyed by dogs in a dream. Fiona argued with Neil about his dog, Dennis, and met Catherine inside. Neil had feelings for Catherine. The probe was found by aliens, and Ray asked Neil in school if he had confessed his feelings to Catherine. The aliens in the Intergalactic Council of Superior Beings located Earth and debated whether to destroy it, considering humans a threat. Sharon suggested giving Earth a chance to prove itself, and that they could join the aliens later. Catherine told her ex-boyfriend Grant that she didn't want to see him anymore. And everyone told Catherine that the producer hated books and was only doing it to sell them. Neil tried to comfort Catherine. The Intergalactic Council randomly selected one person to receive the power to do anything. If this person used the power for evil within 10 days, Earth would be destroyed. Neil Clark was chosen and gained superpowers. Catherine told her friends that her producer was forcing her to sneer at writers, which she didn't want to do. Catherine also told Rosie that Grant was insane and she had left him. Rosie asked Catherine about Neil and suggested he might be gay, but Catherine refused to believe it. Headmaster Robinson got angry at Neil for being late to school and told him he would replace him. Ray got rejected by Miss Pringle. Neil wished that his dog, Dennis, could regurgitate notes from his book, and the dog transformed. Ray asked Neil again about his wish, and Neil said he wanted an alien spaceship to destroy his classroom. Suddenly, an alien spaceship arrived and destroyed the classroom. The Intergalactic Council reviewed Neil's actions, and some aliens voted to destroy humanity. Neil talked to Dennis, explaining that the classroom destruction wasn't his fault. Suddenly, everything he wished for happened, and he realized his powers. He saw his third chapter of the book written by Dennis. Neil was saved from the police using his powers and arrived home, eating from Dennis's bowl. He wished for everyone who had died to come back to life, but they turned into zombies, making Neil realize he had made a mess. After thinking about it, Neil wished the explosion had never happened and went to school where he was about to wish to destroy his class, but simply answered Ray's question. Neil wished that his messy students would become obedient and intelligent, and that Headmaster Robinson would be nice to him, and both wishes came true. Neil wished Miss Pringle would start worshiping Ray, and she did. Neil used his powers for personal desires, even using them to see Catherine. Neil told Ray he could do anything, and Ray didn't believe him until Neil showed him his powers. Ray was surprised. Ray suggested they make any woman fall in love with them. Grant chased Catherine and gave her keys to a new apartment he had bought for her. Rosie and Catherine talked about Neil, and Rosie suggested she sleep with him. The aliens decided to suspend Neil's powers for a while. Neil wished that Catherine would fall in love with him, and then Catherine knocked on his door, which made him think his wish had worked. Grant saw Neil and Catherine together, and they spent the night together. Neil used his powers for small things to serve himself, and then he made Dennis talk. Neil told Dennis he didn't know if Catherine wanted to marry him or not. Dennis advised him not to take his desires like that. Catherine came to talk to Neil about what happened last night, but after hearing Dennis's voice, she misunderstood and thought Neil was gay, so she left him. Neil, heartbroken because he wanted to marry Catherine, chased after her, but Ray stopped him, telling him to stop the nonsense about Miss Pringle worshiping him. To get rid of Ray, Neil turned him into a duck. Neil tried to clear the misunderstanding with Catherine, but it made things worse. Neil then turned Ray into a sausage. Maureen told Sharon and the other aliens that Neil was good for nothing, but they decided to follow the rules. Neil somehow convinced Catherine to have dinner with him. Catherine came to Neil's house and liked the soup. Neil tried to explain his powers to Catherine, but she didn't believe him. Meanwhile, Grant came to the window and told Neil that Catherine was with him. Grant pointed a gun at Neil. Neil and Grant fought, and Catherine threw the gun and ran outside. Neil made Grant believe he had powers, but Grant knocked Neil out, tied him up, and kidnapped him. Catherine, happy with her new office, went to find Neil. Grant told Neil to make his absurd wishes come true, or he would kill Dennis. Catherine went to find Neil but saw Ray, who explained everything to her. Together, they ran to find Neil. Grant used Neil's powers to make people look strange by threatening him. Grant told Neil to make Catherine fall in love with him. Catherine told Neil not to do it, but Neil wished for it. Neil then made everything return to normal and made Catherine and Miss Pringle normal again. Neil talked to Catherine, but she rejected his proposal, saying she didn't want to live under someone's control who could change and control everything. Neil tried to do good for others, but failed. Disappointed, Neil attempted suicide by jumping into the Thames, but Dennis jumped in to save him. Both were saved. Maureen told Sharon that time was up and the destruction was set to begin. But Sharon told them to wait and check if Neil had passed the test. They decided to rerun the destruction generator. Dennis told Neil that to solve the problem, he could give his powers to Dennis, who would follow Neil's orders. Neil gave his powers to Dennis and taught him. The aliens tried to start the destruction, but Dennis used his powers to destroy the source of the power in front of Neil. The aliens were destroyed. Neil woke up in the place where he had first seen the dream of getting an award from Catherine. He tried to wave his hand and was happy when nothing happened. He went to Catherine and asked her about dinner. She agreed to have dinner with him, and Neil was happy. Dennis told the doggy Grant to keep quiet. Dennis still had powers because he didn't wish to destroy them, just the source of the power.